PerkyPlanes and RC here, operating at 2.4 gigahertz, and let's get started officially on the wings on this Tower Hobbies Uproar. So, got some of the materials laid out here, of course. I probably, as I'm going through it, will be getting more materials out if needed. But basically, right here is the spar pieces, and right here is the all the cut ribs and everything. So, and of course, that's the bulk of the wing right there. The spar and the ribs are the big, probably some of the biggest parts. So, something interesting I wanted to kind of point out here, and this has really kind of got me curious, is here in the instructions, it says this thing here about 2 warped spars installed this way will result in a straight wing. So, I thought that was rather interesting because I've got the two. Now this right here, of course, is the spars. They're going to be cut to length, and I couldn't help but notice as I had kind of pushed them together. Let me see if I can demonstrate this as best I can. Is that, at least from what I can tell, one of these spars actually is warped. So, and I'm trying to, guys, just bear with me a second. There we go. We're going to push together. This one right here on the very end, I've got them clamped together pretty good on the other end that you can't see off camera. But this spar right here in particular is on the warped side. So, I don't know. Well, I guess we will see, but maybe it's just I think in the instructions to let you know that if you get a warped one, you can do it and still get a straight wing out of it. I really don't know. But just something interesting I observed. And actually, I recall reading that beforehand and thought that was kind of strange. And then I got the spars out, and sure enough, one of them is indeed warped. So, is that by design? I don't know. So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. We're going to be cutting the spar pieces here first. These are currently 30-inch sticks, and I'll be cutting them down to 24 inches. And the size on these is a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch stick is basically what it is. So, let's get started. First things first, I'm going to go ahead and mark these to where I need to cut them. And I'm going to cut a hair bit bigger than 24 inches just so I've got some wiggle room there. I kind of believe in, like I said, I kind of believe in cutting a little bit bigger than what you need, just because you can take off material, but you can't always add it sometimes. There's all my little scrap pieces there. And here are the spars that I will be using. Well, hey guys, now working on the process of poking out ribs out of the sheets that they have here. That they're already, the ribs are already kind of pre-cut and everything, so you just got to poke them out. And you have a lot of these little scrap pieces here like this that you have to kind of poke out of them too. So, been working on that. It looks like there's 3 different ribs in the wing build. Basically, an outer edge rib, a inner edge rib where the 2 wing halves are going to meet, and then you have the ribs, you know, in between that. So, looking at the plans, you'll see there's an R1, R2, and R3. R3 is the edge, the outer edge rib. R1 is like the inner edge rib, and then R2 is all the ones in the middle. So, something I did observe from this is I'm pretty well convinced that from my Cloud Ranger build, I'm pretty well convinced that this Uproar has a considerable amount, or considerable has a lot less ribs than what the Cloud Ranger had. So, and the funny thing is the Cloud Ranger actually had a it was actually, I think, a smaller wingspan. So I don't know how that is, but I'm pretty well convinced that it's got that this thing has a lot less ribs than the Cloud Ranger did. So I've been kind of using this thing here to sort of poke this little rectangle out there. So there we go. This is an R2 rib. So anyways, just bear with me while I get these guys poked out. Sometimes, depending on the rib, and then this goes even for the flight test kits too, when they give you like the foam, you know, cut foam board and stuff. Sometimes I find it easier to start kind of doing this thing right here where you grab it from the piece, and then there's kind of the pre-cut part right there. Sometimes I try to pull away like that, and I think that helps it come undone easier too. So, like I said, I think that technique works good for, you know, these pre-cut balsa pieces, and I think it also works good for even the flight test foam board stuff too. All right, there you got it. So there's R3, there's R2, and here's there's R3, R1, and then R2. All right, guys, bring you back, doing another little bit of an update here. Like I said, we got the ribs all punched out and everything from their sheets and everything. I want to kind of bring you up to speed on a couple things here. First thing I want to mention is this is the first time, and probably will not be the last time, that I have ever seen, the first time I've seen recommending pinning something to the plans in sort of a cross fashion. And this is kind of recommended per the instructions to basically do your T-pins, and this was just on the spar here, to do your T-pins and kind of a cross like that. So I had never really seen or heard that technique, but they recommended it, and I can kind of see why. To go ahead and pin your spar down like that. So if you notice, the pins there are kind of done in that kind of way. As long as I don't bump into him or anything. So there's that. I did go ahead. There was the next thing here, of course, was doing there was some trailing edge sheets, which I went ahead and cut those to length here. So I need to do that. That is 1/16 inch by 1 1/8 inch by. They were initially 30 inches, but we cut them down to 24 inches. So, and I've already went ahead and pinned one down here at the bottom, as you see. So basically, next steps right now is to start putting these ribs on here and kind of going from there. Something I did want to mention, and I thought about doing this ahead of time, mentioning on the video, but I don't think I'm going to have to. And I'm talking about cutting a hole in the ribs for your servo wire. So, of course, here is the servo on the plans where its location is. The outer edge of the wing is over here, and then, of course, this here is the inner edge. And I kind of learned my lesson from the Cloud Ranger to go ahead and pre-cut your servo wire, cut your servo wire hole before you start gluing ribs down. I unfortunately made that mistake on the Cloud Ranger, and yeah, it was a struggle. But with the way these ribs are designed, I'm wondering if I'll even need to. You got this center hole here, which makes me wonder if that's for the servo wire. But you also have this little spot right here too, which maybe that's for the servo wire. I'm not too sure at this point. But I was going to say, you know, if by some chance that these were not cut like that, and it was just a straight flat rib, that I was going to recommend taking the drill and go ahead and pre-drilling a hole in the ribs, kind of like this as they're laid out, to go ahead and run your servo wire through. Like I said, that will save you a lot of time and effort if you go ahead and do that ahead of time, before you start gluing the ribs in place and everything. So, but I'm thinking with this uproar, I may not have to do that, because I don't believe this hole is used for really anything that I'm aware of at this stage. And like I said, even this hole right here could probably work as well. So anyways, let me get started. We'll glue some ribs down. Okay, quick side note here. I did go ahead and look ahead just through the instructions just to see about the aileron servo thing. So basically what's going to end up happening is there's going to be, you're going to create some, like almost like paper tubes, basically, that is going to fit through these holes right here on the ribs, and you're going to feed your aileron servo wire through that. So yes, don't have to pre-drill the ribs. So that's a cool thing, a good thing. So, but anyways, let me get gluing some ribs here. Alright guys, just a little quick update here. So I did go ahead and we got the trailing edge glued in. Kind of off camera, what I did was I also sanded this down to shape to where it kind of matches up with the airfoil and the wing ribs and everything. So I went ahead and just sanded that. Used my good old sanding block for that. This is one of those situations where I do wish I had a one of those real long bar sanders that I could use to take across the whole thing. So it was a little bit of a struggle to do that, but we made it work. So looks like another tool to add to my arsenal. All right, next step here, I'm gonna be adding the leading edge on. Now this is probably going to be difficult to do on camera, so I'll do my best. But basically, what I have to do is attach this guy right here onto the front like that. So, and I think I'm going to have to kind of lift it up vertically like this to be able to do it and see what I'm doing. So, but like I said, I will do the best I can on it. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start adding glue to the top of each rib here. Yeah, that was a little tricky, a little bit odd to do, but we got her. Alright guys, moving on here. Next step here, of course, is we got some actual leading edges, which is what this thick piece right here is. This is a leading edge. We're actually going to be gluing this to what they call the sub-leading edge. So it's going to go right here on top of the that smaller sheet there. So again, this will probably be kind of a little bit off camera, a little bit. I apologize, I really can't do it any better, but we'll make the best of it, as best we can. So anyways, let me go and start getting some glue in place. I must say, when I was first starting doing this, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, well, that's a pretty weak looking leading edge there, but yeah, this beefs it up a lot. Okay guys, on one of the, basically on the final stages of doing this wing panel construction here, and this is just one half of the wing, and that is getting the top spar actually in place here. Now I've went ahead and just laid it in place for right now. I have not glued it down yet. Something that is very, very important is you want to make sure that these line up with the your bottom spar, which is over here. You probably can't, it's hard to see, but your bottom spar is going through, of course, right through here. You want to make sure the edge over here lines up with your top one. So I went ahead and made sure that they line up using like a 90-degree here. I have to kind of nudge it just a hair. Let's see here if I got it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so yeah, I just had to nudge it just a hair there. But anyways, want to make sure that those are lined up. And then we're ready to start gluing it. And I've already kind of put it down in place on each of the ribs there. So let me go ahead and glue that in place. I'm going to go ahead and let a few of those areas there go ahead and fully cure, and then I'm going to pick it up and then start doing the rest of it. Overall, wing construction was really not too bad. The one thing that I noticed is going along with the instructions and the process, I was very surprised that nothing was mentioned about the actual sheeting, but I'm wondering if the sheeting is going to take effect once I actually start putting the wing on the fuselage. Anyway, as of right now, it is not part of what needs to be done. According to the instructions here, and I've been kind of following through those as best I can, but it seems to me as if the sheeting maybe doesn't come into effect until we actually get the wing inserted into the fuselage. And I'm also going, at this stage right now, I'm going to go ahead and just cut out the creating the servo rails on the plan. Well, actually, it's in this rib right here. That's where they are on the plans. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to kind of exclude right now the servo rails at this point, just because I want to kind of show just the basic construction here. I think even on the Cloud Ranger, I did my servo rails like towards the end as well, before I covered it, of course. So, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate that for right now, and probably do that off camera at a later time. Just because right now I need to look through my servos to see what I have and if I need to order anything. So, okay, that's good enough. Let me go ahead and pick this up here. We're going to kind of try to wick this into as many crevices as I can. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let that just set for a moment there. And that is going to conclude the wing panel construction here on this Tower Hobbies Uproar. Like I said, I'm going to save the servo rails off to another video, another time. And that is pretty much it. I'd have to, of course, construct the other wing panel, which I'll do that off camera. And we'll bring it back probably in the next in my next Uproar videos. So anyways guys, that is all for me on this wing panel construction. I want to thank you guys for watching. Any questions, comments, please leave in the comment section below. And again, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.